Good evening, my name's John. I am an alcoholic.
Hey, John.
You know, Clint's right. He could have told the whole story, and it might would have been all right if he would have kept on giving me the last 15 and just say, "Amen, let's go home." Speaking is not, not necessarily my forte, but I do want to stay sober, and this is one thing that that was suggested to me to help maintain my sobriety was speaking at a meeting. So I try to do anything I can, to maintain my sobriety days. Anything that comes available that I can do with AA, I try to do that too. Like Clint was saying, I'm from Bennetsville, South Carolina, not a big town. My sobriety date is May the 14th, 2013, and for that day, I'm forever grateful. That was a life-changing moment for me. I got down here on the 10th, and that was a big step for me, just admitting, that I had a problem. That was one of the major things I ever had, through my whole active addiction, was just admitting that there really was something wrong, that I couldn't beat it by myself. Because I just always wanted to try to be a man or whatever and take control of the situation. And y'all just going to have to bear with me, because I'm nervous. I always get like this. Every time I get in front of somebody, I'm not a person to be up in front of anybody. I'll help you do anything. Stand in front of you and talk is hard for me to do, I get a little bit of coffee and a little Diet Mountain Dew or something, I might get to moving a little bit. It's just not easy to stand up in front of, a group of people and talk. But anyway, like I say, I'm from Bennetsville, and I've been there all my life. I guess I started out about like anybody else. My earliest memory as a child was going to kindergarten school. My mama taking me up there, and I was scared to death, and I was holding on to her, crying, begging, "Don't leave me, I didn't know what was going on, and it seemed like everybody else around me, they understood what was going on, and I just felt different, from that early age. I just felt different than everybody, and I don't know why. That's just, I think now I can look back at that now, and I think it's alcoholism in my life, even at that age. I mean, I'm an alcoholic. And I'm going to always be an alcoholic. I feel like I've always been an alcoholic, even before the drink, The drink just, it just took over. But, coming up, I like I said, I always felt different than everybody. I didn't feel like I ever fit in, even with my closest friends, families. I got a younger brother and an older sister. I don't know, they were smart. And I didn't, book sense just wasn't my thing. They were excelling in school, and I just didn't. Even like I say, at home, I didn't feel like I fit in with that crowd. I started playing sports early. I played baseball and soccer and stuff like that. And when I started doing that, I kind of felt like I had found some kind of, out there I could fit in a little bit. I felt like I was pretty decent, doing all those things. And I don't know, just it helped ease that, that uneasy feeling that you had when you get around people. That you weren't the same as everybody, but out there I was. It was all equal, and I was. I was good at that stuff. I didn't have to talk to nobody. I just had to play sports. That's what I had to do. So I kept doing that coming up. My daddy coached, and all my friends played, and so I got to be with them in a more comfortable, what I felt like comfortable environment. I knew early that something was different about me. I had a early, just a desire to 6 years old, I was trying to smoke a cigarette, And I can remember that. That's a vivid memory. I was at my grandma's house, and somebody drove by in a pickup truck and threw it out the window, and I ran over there and picked it up, and it liked to kill me. But I remember things like that, and that like I said, I had that desire early to do something, I don't know, illegal or different or wrong. It felt good to me. I would try to. My mom and daddy never really drank or anything like that, as I would say as an alcoholic. They didn't never do anything like that around me. I know they did drink because I was stealing it from them, even at that early age. And they did smoke, I smoked for 20-something years, and I would know if one cigarette was missing out my pack. But I would steal whole packs of cigarettes from them, and they never said anything. How did you not know that I took your whole pack of cigarettes? But I was 10, 11, 12, and 13, I had a little go-kart, and I'd steal cigarettes and go ride off and smoke cigarettes, And when there would be people around that were drinking, even at that age, I would try to slip off or, grab one of their beers. If they wanted me to go get one out of the cooler or something, I'd always, things like that were what I looking back, I sought after stuff like that. It was interesting to me, even then. And I just kept, I wasn't drinking, alcoholically like that, at that early of an age, but it was developing into that. As I grew up and got older and got into, middle school, high school, those things, became more interesting and became more available. Drugs was part of my story, that's something I always want. Alcohol is my drug of choice. I always wanted to drink, and then when I get drunk, I'd do other things but I always wanted that drink. It seemed like when everything else was gone and I was left, trying to find something, I was hunting something to drink. At the end of the day, that's where I was at. But I was getting into high school and stuff, and like I say, things become more available, or if like in Bennetsville, man, it about like any other little small town. We knew everybody. So if you know the right people, you can buy alcohol and cigarettes or marijuana, whatever you needed, at your local convenience store. It didn't matter. And I knew those people. That's just the way it was. It still is. I'm sure. I'm not. I got kids that are that age now, but I'm sure it's still the same way. Because if not, none of us would be here tonight. But so ninth, 10th grade, I like everybody else, I was, begging my way to get down to the beach, spring break, and that was, what I did. And I'd go down there and get drunk. My friends that I went with, they weren't partaking in anything like that. So I drove my truck down there, and they left me at that house and went somewhere else. And I was fine with that. I stayed there and get drunk. But my first memory of actually getting drunk was that a friend of mine, his brother was getting married, and we were in the wedding, and they were having like a rehearsal party or whatever, and I probably wasn't 12 or 13 years old, and they were sitting around the table at his mama's house playing quarters, with a bottle of rum. Everybody's grandma, everybody, just sitting there having, what I was really enjoying that at that age. I had really found something that made me feel like I fit in with that crowd, the older crowd, or even some of my friends were there, and I didn't want to leave. I did not want. That was the first time I had ever really, got drunk. I had drank before, but I had never really. My intentions that night were to get drunk, and that's what I did. And that was the first time I had done that. And but I didn't want to leave, man. And this dude's getting married the next day, his brother, and I'm wanting to stay there all night. I'm young. They were trying to get me to go home. And somebody should have realized. I should have realized something then that this was going to be a problem if I continued to drink like this. But I didn't, and that's that's where it actually ended up. Was, I just kept on wanting to drink. And that night they took me home. I was sick, doing the whole thing, and I didn't set out the next day to drink no more. But from that day on, every time I got the opportunity to drink, I took full advantage of that. And it wasn't just to have one or two. I wanted to get drunk. I wanted to get the full effect, man. That's just when I do something. Even to this day, I got a little bit of sobriety time. But when I do things around the house or whatever, man, it's like I'm gonna max it out. I just had that personality, I reckon. And when I drank, that's what I was gonna do. I was gonna take it to the limit. I was gonna push everybody around me. I was gonna push it, whatever. I'm gonna get everything I can out of this night, like it was gonna be the last night ever. Because that's just what I did. But I kept, getting into high school and all that kind of stuff, and still playing sports, and that you get. Not that I was this good, but they get to talking about going to college, trying to get a scholarship, and doing things like that. But even at that age, I had sold myself short then, because I told them I didn't even have any intentions of going any further, anything past high school. That was it for me. Because I wanted to party. That's what I didn't want to have to go to school. I wanted to get out of high school. I wanted to go to work, and I wanted to drink. And I really wasn't that big on the drugs then, but it was leading that way. And that was, 10th grade. I was making that decision. That was in my eyes now, like I say, looking back, well, that was a pretty big decision to have turned down those opportunities, but that's just what alcohol was already doing in my life. It had already taken over, even though I wasn't full-blown, in my active addiction. It was already making those decisions for me about how I was going to live. And But I kept playing, basketball and kept playing soccer and all that, and just gradually, before I graduated, I was already a daily marijuana user, drinking daily, and smoking cigarettes. I was there, and I didn't realize it. And got out of school. I went to Horry, Georgetown for about a month, literally, and I probably didn't go to about 2 classes. And the girl I was with, she was found out she was pregnant, so I figured I was going to do the man thing, come home and go to work and try to be a daddy or whatever, get a job. But I was still doing, it hadn't really got me in any trouble or anything yet. But I was still, it was a priority in my life to be able to drink like I wanted to. And that was just, if you were in my life, you had to accept that. That's what I was going to do at that point. And she did. She didn't really have no choice, I didn't ask her. I just did it. And she got pregnant. I come home, got a job. We got a place to live, and started, raising that first child. And it wasn't long after that it happened again. So now we got 2, and my addiction has grown. I stepped it up a notch, and she got more active on the drug scene, and it started, I flunked my first drug test at work, things like that started happening. And I didn't, in order to keep that job, they said, if you'll go to this class or whatever for 30 days, we'll let you keep the job, take another drug test and all that kind of stuff. And I did it, and I was getting high the whole time, never quit drinking. I never thought that alcohol was a problem. Right then, when I flunked that drug test, I was like, well, if I can just quit doing the drugs and just drink, then I'll be all right. So I'll just switch over to liquor. He did a whole, I'm going to drink liquor, not beer. It's going to save me. Then don't drink liquor. I'm going to drink beer. That type, I did all that. But I was doing construction work, and I just, I lost that job, ultimately lost that job, moved on. In that field of work, from what I was doing electrical work, you could find a job on the job. You pretty much could move around as you wanted to, so it wasn't that hard to keep working. I never really not worked, and for 20 some odd years, I never really didn't drink. I was pretty much high or drunk every day as best as I could do. We had those 2 children, and I don't exactly remember what all went down, because there was a lot went down in the midst of all that, and sometimes you don't want to drum it up. I know some bad things happen, and I ended up I found a treatment center. That was the first time that I actually said, I'll try to go somewhere, and it was an outpatient program. It was in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's where my sister, she moved from Bennetsville to Atlanta after she graduated college, and I found I didn't do nothing. Somebody else found it for me, and I figured it was the best thing I could do to try to save what little bit of relationship I had with that girl and with my mom and daddy. So that's just what I did. I mean, they had carried me to Charlotte and dropped me off, and I was like, y'all not leaving me here. Things like that had done happened by this time. There was a treatment center down there, and but I wasn't having none of it. It was that whole thing. You get somewhere, and it's like, man, it really might not have been that bad. I really got this thing under control. Now I know I can't do this stuff no more. And but I was fooling myself. But I left Bennetsville and went and moved to Atlanta with no job, and left a girlfriend and 2 children back in Bennetsville. And I was going to live with my sister. And I got down there, and I was going to that program, every day. As soon as they opened, I was there. And I stayed there until they closed, And I did pretty good for about 2 weeks, and then I didn't have no job, so my mom was sending money and whatever little bit of money my sister would give me. I started leaving. I'd leave the program, and I'd go get me a 40-ounce Budweiser, but they didn't. My sister would see me drinking, and I pretty much was like, it's all right. I can do this. I can have one, and like, you ain't got to have a big one, But that's what I had to have, I had to drink, and I could not do without it, and so that you can't mooch off of people but so long, and they kind of get tired of that. So if I had to find a job, and the only job that I could find was actually driving the beer truck at a Budweiser distributor down in Marietta, Georgia. And so that's, I was drinking alcoholically before I got that job, but man, I turned it up another notch when I got that job, because the beer was cold at 6:30 in the morning, and I could put it in the front cab of the truck and drive all day long with cold beer in the truck. You can't beat it. I had found it, man. I'd hit the jackpot, getting paid good money and drink all day. You can't beat it. And I thought, like I said, I thought I had it going on, so I got me an apartment. I got the mother of my first two children to move down there, and that's one thing I can say I was good at, was fooling people. I could cheat and connive and lie and get you to think a lot of things. That's like the big book says, you try to control the situation, and I would do things to get people to react a certain way so that I could get out of that situation what I wanted. So I had convinced her, that it was a good idea for them to move down there, even though our relationship really wasn't that good, and that was, a big portion of that was my fault. I just, I had no regard for my children, or for their life, or their well-being, or her, what she wanted in life. I had no intentions of trying to help that out. I would say I would, and I had good intentions a lot of times, but at the end of the day, it was about me getting what I needed. And I got her down here. That's what I needed. I felt like I needed her in my life. So I moved her down there, still having to borrow money from I got a job, but you could put me anywhere in the world in active addiction, and I'm gonna find what I need. Yeah, I'm gonna find a dope man. I mean, the beer and liquor's everywhere, but I'm gonna find a dope man, and that's what I did. And I've been down there however long, 6 months before they moved down there, and I had found them before she even showed up. And when I got that job, if an addict, man, it's like you're like a psychic or something. You can read people, and you know who to ask and who not to ask. And I found that right group of people that was working at this distributorship that could lead me in the right direction to find who I needed. And it's crazy that I don't know. It still, amazes me how we can do things like that. But anyway, I got her down there, and things were still not good, and she was down there. I guess all this probably happened in about a year and a half or something like that, and we separated down there in Georgia, and I'm getting more heavy into the drugs. I mean, I'm still working, when I can. I got, moving on up in the company, getting my own route, making good money, waking up in the morning late for work, not showing up for work, not calling, doing things like that. But, people liked me. They were they were just letting all that stuff slide. And they, didn't fire me, let me keep my job, never did drug test me, do anything like that. And me and her separated, and I flipped the script there for a little while. I went up straight Marlboro County on them. But I let the red come out down in Atlanta, and showed off. I didn't ever get locked up, but I was as close as you can get without getting locked up. And got caught trying to buy drugs down there, and they put me on the spot, man. And I did some, at the end of the day, they pretty much, after about being down there about 3 years, I got asked to leave the state of Georgia and not to come back. And that's what I did go back, but and when I got back, I wasn't there 6 months, and I was caught again doing the same thing, But so when I left there, I got transferred to a distributorship in Florence, doing the same thing, riding on the beer truck, putting beer in the front of the truck, and drinking, and which I was back home then, so I was on my turf. I knew where all the dope was. I could trade beer, sell beer. It was just a constant cycle, man. And that thing was really piling up. It was starting to become a heavy burden, because I had 2 kids, and I am a human being. I do have feelings, even though I mask it with that alcohol and drugs. I wanted to do good for them. I wanted to be their daddy and all that. And by not doing that burden started weighing down on me. And I mean, I was just sad, I was upset at myself for not continuing my education, not being I got 2 kids that I'm really not a part of their lives. Their mama was doing the best she could, but she was struggling too. And so my parents kind of ended up taking over a little bit, and then when I got back to Bennetsville, like I say, we're good con artists, and I conned another woman into thinking that she loved me, and got her moved in, and I don't know how in the world, it wasn't me, it was God, I got custody of my oldest two children. It's like, I didn't even really want it. I wanted to drink, and here I am. They done talked me up into, you need to save these kids from their mama, and they needed to save them from me, because I would leave them at the house by themselves at the drop of a hat. 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, it didn't matter. If I needed something, I'd leave them. That's sad to say, but I would do it. That's, the drugs and alcohol convinced me that was all right. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to leave a baby at home by herself. I don't know, sick. But I fooled this other girl into, like I say, thinking she loved me, and before long we had a child, and so I said, well, I'm gonna need to marry this one. This is 3 kids, 2 of them outside of wedlock already, and I've been to church all my life, so I had this conviction on me to try to live right, try to do the right thing, and I just, I never could hit the ball on that thing, not while I was drinking, and like I said, that thing will wear you down. Y'all know what I mean. It'll put you in a place that you don't want to be, but you don't know how to get out. I did not know how to get out of this. I wanted to quit. I wanted not to quit. I wanted to drink. I didn't want to do it. It's all this just going through your mind 100 miles an hour, and the horse won't stop. It's like, whoa, man, I need to get off. And it just kept piling up, that snowball effect. And me and her had a child, and that didn't change things. I have promised on each one of them's head that I was going to change. I have swore to God that I'll never do this again if you'll just get me out of this situation. I waited until I was 25 years old to really find trouble. It didn't find me. I found it. I sought out after to do some things one night and got caught. And I had to pay the price for it. And that was, I was already having kids. I should have been changing my life instead of making it worse. I realized that. So, you get depressed about it, and you drink more. Then you drink more, and you get more depressed because you're drinking more. Things like that. And but this girl, she hung right in there. I don't know why. Still, it was God doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. He can see down the road, and He knows what we need. And that's why we're here tonight. I mean, we all made the choice. I got in my truck and came down here. I was nervous as a long-tailed cat, room full of rocking chairs, palm sweating and everything. And but I came, because I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to go back to that life where I was. I don't want to do that again. So I'm down here trying to share a little bit of something that maybe somebody, just pick it up, take it. I don't know, do with it what you want, but use it for your sobriety. This is what saved my life. I came through here. And I stayed the full 28 days, and people would come down here and share their story, their experience, strength, and hope. And a lot of times I would think, man, this dude don't know me. He don't know what I'm going through. He don't know the life I lived. I mean, don't let these fine clothes fool you, because I just left church. That's why I'm dressed like this. And but that's another thing this program has done for me. It's increased my spiritual, relationship with God, my understanding. But I would sit there and think these same things. But at the same turn, you don't know where I was at. People don't know what I felt. But at the end of the day, we're all here for the same reason. We want sobriety. We're searching for the same thing. No matter what it took for us to get here, that's what we're after. And I believe together we can help each other do that. But me and that girl have a child. I'm getting worse. I get locked up. She still stays. All this kind of stuff. I mean, when you know everybody at the jailhouse by name and they know you by name, that's not something to brag about. When you can walk into the liquor store and don't have to tell them nothing, they just set it on the counter and you give them money, whether you get or don't. They just, sometimes they tell me they just take it. I don't want you to get sick, take it. And that's not something to brag about either. But I was at that point. I knew everybody at the county jail. They knew me. I could go in the liquor store. You can't go to Walmart and they just walk in Walmart and they have a buggy full of groceries there and say, here you go, Mr. Moody, this is your groceries for the week. But I could go in the liquor store and they knew what I wanted every time. And I go to Walmart every day if I can. But, me and this girl, we get married, and and I introduce her to a life that she ain't never seen before. She's 9 years younger than I am, and I ain't gonna get in. She ain't here, but I still ain't gonna get into a whole bunch of dates and stuff because I can't remember, anniversaries and stuff like that. But I mean, she was not accustomed to living the way that I was living, and she got brought in. It was just a rude awakening to her, but she held on, and we had another child. Well, I was good at making babies, I started having these youngins, and I got 3 girls at this time, and this one was a boy, and when he was born with some complications, and I ain't changed my life. I'm still living the way I'm living, but they bring him out, and it wasn't nothing life-threatening. Well, we didn't know, but it wasn't. It ended up not being anything life-threatening at that moment. But she don't even get to hold him. Within an hour of him being born, we hit at Chapel Hill, and I'm following the ambulance down there. Got my mom in the car, and I can't even get to Chapel Hill. I got to have something to drink. This drink's gonna ease my nerves. So, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I got to stop and get a 6-pack of Natural Light and a pack of Marlboros. I got to have it. And so that's what I did. I just did what I always do. And I had to drink those beers before I could go in there and check on him too. And we stayed down there at one. They got a house you can stay in, situations like that. And they put this sign up: no drinking, no alcohol on the premises, no smoking. Man, I can't even read that. That don't mean nothing to me. So I'm down there, just doing what I do, drinking, carrying on, and stayed down there about 8 days. And somewhere in the midst of that, she got released from the hospital, and she came on down there. And like I say, we might have stayed down there 2 weeks with him. And he's got a chromosome disorder, and brought him home. And I ain't gonna do this no more. I promise. Heather, I ain't never gonna drink like I'm gonna be a changed person. I got to do this. Finally got my boy. I'm gonna raise him right. Man, that lasted about as long as it took me to say it. and I was right back to doing the same things, over and over and over. Her daddy died. 3 days after her daddy died, I go missing. That's just what alcohol, it's just amazing what you can do as alcohol. The things, stuff like that to me now, I couldn't imagine leaving somebody in the midst of losing. I mean, her and her daddy were close, and I left her. I left her. I was going to get what I needed out of this thing. And it just keeps going downhill from there, snowball effect. And I've drove this thing, talking a lot about, the woes of alcohol. But I just want you to know that, it can take you places. It took me somewhere I didn't want to be. And I stayed there a lot longer than I wanted to, and I didn't know how to get out. I had no earthly idea how to get out. And I have sobriety today, not because I figured out how to get out. It's because I gave up. She had done threatened to leave. She had done left. We had separated, all those things. And one day, I came to at a friend of mine's house, and at about 6:30, I hadn't been home, all night long. About 6:30 that morning, I came to, and it was different. I still had beer. I still had money. And I just felt like this was it, and that was May the 10th. My mama, she had found out earlier that year that she had cancer, and she was at home, and none of that mattered. None of that mattered to me. She was laying there taking chemo, couldn't get off the couch, and I'd go by there and get money from her. She couldn't even get up the couch to go get me the money. Somebody had to bring it to her and leave it on the floor, so I could go out there and get the money off the floor. She, it's crazy. But I didn't see all that. I was blinded. All I saw was, that next high, that next drink. And but on May the 10th, like I say, I came home that morning, and I did like I always do. I waited till I thought everybody had gone, and I went home, and they had left, gone to school, gone to work. At about 9 o'clock, I'm laying in the bed trying to figure out how I'm going to explain my way out of this. And she pulls up, and she ain't mad, she ain't throwing things, she ain't cussing. She just said, it's over. You got to do something. And that still, like you say, that ain't, I knew I had to do something. Just not for her sake or whatever. I just had to change the way I was living. It was killing me. And I had a spiritual deficit that I needed to fill, and I started reaching out. Well, actually, there again, she started reaching out. We was calling insurance people trying to find a place to stay, and somehow or another we got a telephone number to Samaritan Colony, and that was God, because they don't even take insurance, and I don't know how my insurance company gave me that number. It was God working in my life when I couldn't do it for myself. And she called down here. She talked to Mark and was trying to get things lined up. And he's like, this, if he wants it, he's got to call down here and get it. You doing all this ain't going to work. And so she hung up the phone. She said, he said you got to call. So God knows, man. All right, dial the number. I still can't dial the number. So I got to dial the number and talk to him. And he's like, what's going on? And the only thing I could come up with was, I'm tired. And that was, honest to God truth, that was really what was the problem, is I was just tired. Tired of running, tired of lying, tired of cheating, tired of stealing, tired of getting caught, tired of not getting caught and having to live with it. I was just tired of it. And he said, well, when can you be here? And that was that Friday morning. I said, well, as soon as I get a bag packed, I can be there, 1 or 2 o'clock that Friday afternoon. And she drove me down here, and parked right out there. There wasn't a whole lot said between. It's a 30-minute ride from Bennetsville to here, and there wasn't, there wasn't no pleasant conversation. There wasn't a whole lot of nothing said really. But we came down here and she went in, didn't tell me bye or nothing, just kind of left, and did all the admission stuff. And I got introduced to the program, Alcoholics Anonymous here, and they started talking about reading and writing and doing all these things and praying. I had an idea who God was, but I knew I wanted to stay sober. So when they told me to read something, I read it. When they told me to write something, I wrote it, and I'd write it again and read it again. Man, I was full of ambition about staying sober. I didn't want to go back to the way I was living. Like I say, she left, and we had custody of my 2 children, which are her 2 stepchildren, and so I mean they're all at school, and I'm expecting their stepmama to just take over and just run this thing. I don't know if she's going to be there when I get out. I don't know, but I didn't care. I came down here to find something, and I knew when I crossed that hill, man, there's something about it. You can just feel that there's something different about coming down here. I mean, I felt it tonight when I come in here. It's just, there's a feeling of people that really want to help you. This program has done a lot for a lot of people, and if you want it, it's available for you to get. We just had to take some action, and that's where I finally got to, was taking that action. And I stayed the full 28 days. When after, I can't remember, second week you get a phone call or something like that maybe. She answered the phone. Whenever it is that you get a visit, she came down here, and I couldn't. She has no reason. I did everything in the book to run this woman off. Everything, you name it, I did it. And she stayed. She stayed right there. She didn't like it. She kicked and screamed and was mad and all that. But, I mean, she says now that she saw something. I don't know what you saw. Because I sure wasn't showing you. But we have a good life today. I graduated or whatever. I still got my coin in my pocket, And I guess, I don't know, 2 years after being sober, we had another baby. That's my sober baby. But, I think that's God blessing me with the opportunity to actually raise a child. So this child's not going to know me as a practicing alcoholic if I keep doing what I'm doing today. The God of my understanding has given me that opportunity, because all my other children, my little boy don't understand, what was going on, but my the oldest 3 do. They know where I'm at. They know where I'm at tonight. They know why I'm here. And I don't hide that from them either. I don't promote it or, like Daddy's this wonderful person or anything, but I don't hide that from them either. But this child, with the help of this program and the God of my understanding, won't ever have to see me doing those things. I've experienced, many blessings in my life. My mama got over the cancer. Just found out the other week it's come back, but I ain't got to drink over that. Back the first time, that was an excuse for me to drink. That was just anything that would happen, good or bad, got paid, broke, lost, dead, died, whatever. I'd use that for an excuse to drink. I don't have to do those things today. I got a sponsor, man. I got introduced to somebody that's really, I couldn't have done none of this without him. I really couldn't have. We, learn how to do a gratitude list down there. I still do that. I still make contact with my sponsor or somebody in the program, on a daily basis. I try to reach out to somebody and share my experience, strength, and hope. That's the least I could do, for what's been given to me. I went to church this morning and the preacher, preacher called me into his office. I'm like, good God, boy, he done found something out. Lord have mercy. And he said, what you think about being a substitute Sunday school teacher? I'm like, cuz, you know where I'm going tonight. Come down there and listen to this story and you might change your mind. But, things like that are happening in my life today where I'm able to participate around. I mean, and those people at that church know where I come from. I've testified about that. So I say I'm not ashamed of it. I try to use it as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block these days. And, I've got that new baby at the house. I've gotten a good job. I don't have to work that second shift job no more. I'm able to go places that my wife does. She sings a little bit. She sang at a wedding, and they were serving alcohol. And I called my sponsor and talked to them about it before I went down there. But I was able to go to that and be around all that with not even, I didn't have any desire at all to participate in that. I feel like today that desire to drink has been lifted off of me, but it's not gone away. I got to do things on a daily basis in order to maintain that sobriety. I got to get on my knees and pray. I got to try to help somebody. I got to go to a meeting. We got 2 meetings in Bennetsville on Tuesday and Friday night at 8 o'clock. And if y'all get out and down that way or want to ride and check us out, we'd be glad, we'd love to have you. We normally don't have 2 or 3 people show up, so it's kind of a laid back meeting. But it's what I have today. I have sobriety, and that's what was presented to me. This program gave me that. I found a relationship with a God of my understanding that I had never experienced. If you'd have asked me when I was in active addiction, what I expected out of life if I was to get sober, whatever, I would have just like I know y'all have heard it before. I would have sold myself short because I can't set limits on what I receive today. I just have to be receptive because I know where it's coming from, but I don't know what it's going to be. The opportunities that people at work that I never would have thought about, I get to witness to them about things that's happened in my life. Being here tonight, this is, if I can come back down to Samaritan Colony, man, I don't get to come as much as I would like to, but when I come back down here, this is an honor and a privilege to be able to stand here. And I mean, these people took time out of their life. They're still taking time out of their lives to try to help me fix mine, to show me a way to live that is different from the way I thought that I had to live. I had conceded to the fact that I was going to be an alcoholic or I was going to be drunk the rest of my life, and I was all right with that. I was all right living on the edge, stealing and robbing, taking money from whoever. Man, I was going to take it from you. If you didn't know it was coming, but it was coming if I got around you. But, I'm thankful for that today. I'm thankful for the life I have, and I'm glad to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak, and but that's about all I got. Thank you.